So it's the dog days of summer, and that means a few things out here in Arizona. One, it's extremely hot. Two, the lake lice will absolutely destroy the lake. And three, you kind of have to wake up pretty early in the morning to get out there and beat both of those things. And that's exactly what I did on this specific day. I ended up waking up at 3:30 in the morning to try and get there as early as I possibly could to kind of get up into this section of the lake that I knew was kind of far from the boat ramp, and I'm fishing in a small 14-foot John boat, and so it takes me a while to get to some of these spots. And one, I don't really want to be out there when the lake lights basically turn the entire lake into a bathtub. It's not very fun. So that was kind of the game plan going into it, and I was going to try and do a 1-2 punch approach, which I was going to throw a big full-size rat and a battle shad. And I was pretty excited to get out there on this specific day because we had a front rolling through, and we didn't have a front for a while out here in Arizona. And a low pressure system, a front like that, does a couple things to the fish. It will push them shallow, it'll make the bait and all these different things kind of active, and you'll notice like as soon as you get to the lake, things are happening. I mean, I'm seeing activity, I'm seeing blow-ups, I'm seeing follows, I'm having all these types of things on these low pressure systems. So I was really excited to get out there this morning and try and catch a fish. I got out there very early. It's still practically dark, and this happens maybe on my third or fourth cast. If you guys can see that one right there on the penguin, the OG. Crazy. It's probably like my third cast. No one smoked it. Dude, so sick. Nice little chunky one. You know what's crazy is what makes this fish so special is I haven't caught a fish in this part of the lake in over 6 years. So to finally do it again after all of these years is an incredibly good sign for hopefully better things to come. Oh man, you guys have no idea how stoked I am on that beautiful, healthy fish. You guys probably can't even see it. Alright, that guy came on the Nezumma Rat. This was gifted to me a long time ago by my buddy Manny. This fish is so riled up. Nice. Healthy little fish. Right there. Okay. Goodbye. So yeah, it's basically pitch black. I mean, we could barely even see that fish catch. I mean, I'm just casting and I'm praying I'm not going to hit a rock or a tree or anything like that with my bait. And as long as I hear water, I'm good. And I'm fishing that thing slow, giving it some twitches, and that fish came up and absolutely smoked it. So that was a really good sign because, again, I hadn't seen a fish up in that section of the lake in 6 years. And so to see that fish and to get that violent of an eat was a really good sign. And I was very stoked. And it kind of showed like, okay, something could happen here. Let's keep fishing. Let's keep going because there could be a window here to try and catch fish on this rat. And it just led into this other fish catch that I had. Small little guy right there. Watched him come up out of nowhere and smoke that thing. Alright, another one on the rat. Awesome.
So with that one, I made a super sick cast underneath the log. Hopefully I can zoom in and show you guys, but casted right up underneath the log, twitch, and I saw that fish shoot out to the left of the bait, and I just twitched it in place and it came up and smoked it. So that's 2 right there on the big full-size rat.
Made that cast under there, and I thought in my head, as soon as I made that cast, I was like, man, it'd be really cool to get bit right now. Oh, there's a fish on it. And I watched this fish come up to the side, and I start twitching it in place, and that small fish came up and smoked it. Yeah, it's a small fish, it's a summertime fish, super skinny, like malnutrition. Even though that first fish I caught was like nice, fat, healthy, that one was the complete opposite. It was small, but it kind of just goes to show that sometimes when you're throwing these big giant rat baits, that yeah, of course you're trying to go after the bigger, larger, great fish, but it doesn't mean that these smaller guys won't try and take a shot at a lure like that to try and put on some weight, I suppose. So even though that fish was small, it was good to try and get another fish in the boat, and it's still fun at the end of the day, especially when you're throwing a rat bait like that and watching them come up and smoke it. I mean, there's nothing better than that. And so basically all I was doing with this rat is I'm going down these wall sections or these banks that have kind of a steeper, kind of gradual decline to them, whether it's kind of just a nice rocky bank or just a straight up cliff wall or anything like that. And I'm running this rat parallel to it as close as I possibly can to kind of imitate the squirrels, the chipmunks, the lizards that may fall into the water and kind of swim along and try and find a way to get out. And these big fish, or just fish in general, are fairly opportunistic. They'll eat anything that they feel like they can put in their mouths, and these fish are positioned tight to these walls, tight to these banks, looking for an opportunity to pin, whether it's bluegill, shad, or a bat flying around, squirrels, chipmunks, all these types of things. And these fish are opportunistic. So all I'm trying to do is imitate that same exact creature that would normally do it slow. I'll throw in some twitches here and there to kind of get them to react to it. And at the end of the day, who doesn't love a good topwater bite when you're getting them to come up and eat a big full-size rat? So that's kind of my game plan in going into fishing the rat. And it was pretty successful kind of that first hour and a half, as the clouds started to kind of go away and the sun started to kind of come up. There's more shade than sun, but it's starting to kind of be limited in where I'm fishing at this point. So I'm kind of running around, I'm looking for shade pockets to fish, and I ended up heading a little bit further down, fishing this rat, and I find another shade pocket where I'd seen fish before.
Oh, just came off. Oh my God. Holy shit. Fuck yeah, dude. Right there. Battle Shad, 7.5. So dope. Have that fish come up on the rat. Didn't really commit to it, but was fired up enough to come up and shoot up on it. Threw back in there with the Battle Shad and caught that fish right there. Unbelievable. Not a giant, but a fish right there. So safe. All right, time to let this little guy go. Not a giant, but okay. All right, nice fish. Stoked. Glad we could do it. Down she goes.
So that fish catch was cool, and that was something where I saw the fish come up on the rat. I was like, oh crap, here comes a fish. And I'm twitching it. The fish comes up, swipes at it, doesn't fully commit to it, but I know that that fish is still around. I saw it again follow the rat, and so I'm like, okay, the fish is here, it's pretty juiced, but it wasn't fully committed to coming all the way up to the surface and eating that rat. And I was starting to see that as the morning went later on, that I was getting kind of a lot of swipes, a lot of misses, and that can happen when you're fishing a rat lure like that, because at first, if the fish don't really get a good look at it, sometimes they just smoke it, right? But if they have a pretty good look at it, they'll notice like, oh, it's pretty big. If I get it on this little swipe, then that's great. If I don't, well, it sucks. So after seeing that fish swipe, I put the rat down, I pick up the battle shad, and I fire that thing back out behind the boat, kind of drift past where I saw the fish, let it sink down, and I'm just slowly reeling. You'll see I hit a rock, and then boom, I get that thump. And so it kind of goes to show that in the conventional world, what will happen is a lot of guys will throw like a frog or a popper or something like that, but they'll also have a Cinco or a creature bait or something like that on the deck as well. So when they're fishing that bait and they get that blow up and they miss it, then they quickly just throw their rod down, pick up a Cinco, fire back out there, and they'll end up catching that fish. And so that's exactly what I did with that fish. Just everything's more elevated. One with a big rat, and then two with a big soft bait. So it worked out in that time. It does not work out every single time, but just noticing how juiced that fish was, knowing that that fish is there, he's ready to feed. If anything swims by, he's probably going to smoke it. And him ending up biting that battle shad was really, really cool. So after that fish catch, there's a lot of lake lice coming now. The sun's starting to come up, and I'm like, okay, I know we should probably start heading back down on Main Lake. I know there's a lot of wind ripping, and I know I'm gonna have to deal with some pleasure boaters. It is just what it is, but that wind should help those fish kind of tuck into like tule spots or underneath docks or something like that to try and get more bites, because once the sun kind of comes up, both myself and the fish are looking for shade, looking for kind of comfort areas to still feed. I mean, it's still kind of a nice morning outside. The wakeboarders and the jet skis and the pleasure boaters and stuff like that, they're out full speed now. And as I'm running back down the lake, this happens with the GoPro that hasn't happened really ever before. I don't notice that. And I was like, I don't normally just look back because I don't expect that thing to happen with my GoPros. I expect them just to be boom, set, straight forward, ready to go. And that ended up happening. And this is, of course, what happens because of karma or something.
Another one on that battle shad, 7.5. Holy smokes, look at that fish. That thing smoked it. Dude, that thing was dogging. Holy shit, dude. That is crazy, dude. No way. Oh, you've got to be shitting me. All right, another beautiful fish right there on that battle shad. Man, that thing absolutely smoked that thing. Nice, Summertime battle shad fish right there. Let's get her out of here. All right, nice fish. All right, you're free. What's crazy is that's how I found my GoPro. From the wakes and the chop, it was pointed down the whole time. That's crazy. That's never happened to me, not once, not ever in my entire life. That sucks. That was a hell of a fight, and you guys missed it.
Another beautiful fish on the battle shad. Luckily enough, I do run 2 GoPros on the boat. That front angle was a little rough as well because the waves had also kind of turned it, but it got a majority of it, I suppose. But unfortunately, you did miss one of the coolest jumps I've ever had. That fish was so fired up, so juiced, that thing was dogging me. It was a really awesome fight to not get it on the back GoPro, but it is what it is. It's just, I'd rather still just catch the fish than worry about anything else, and that's basically what ended up happening. That I was just generally stoked that I rolled into the spot. I knew that there was maybe some fish around in that area, and I ended up catching that fish on the battle shad, and even nicer fish than the one before. So it kind of goes to show that if you're understanding timing and specific spots, you can have these things happen kind of in a sequence of events. And so you have a plan of like, okay, I should run this. Okay, there was a fish there, I should run this. Or I should also run this because of this conditions and this wind and all these types of things. And a lot of times it can work out, but a lot of times it also just doesn't work out. And on this specific day, all of my spots and all of my plans kind of, you know, clicked, they snapped into place, and we were able to have one of the most successful days I've had out on the water in a very long time. So a little bit of history about that rat is that rat was given to me again by my buddy Manny Chi. That was, oh man, maybe 5 years ago or so. But that rat has had a lot of history before he even gave it to me, and it ended up looking like this for a while.
Oh, it does not matter. How do I say goodbye? Super glue it back together, dude. It'll totally work. Great. Oh my god. Where's the bill? There it is.
Are you gonna try and get the bill out?
Yeah.
Who says my arm's too short? Dude, you can't super glue the bait back together.
Yeah, I can.
You really thought you were gonna be able to super glue it back together?
You don't think so?
That bait is toast.
Oh, come on, dude. Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. The bait is toast.
Will Scott make me another one or something?
Maybe, if you're real sweet to him.
Are you serious, dude?
I'm dead serious. Why? I was joking when I said you could super glue it. Let's get the lip, and then when we get back home, we'll wrap some Gorilla Tape around it, and I think that will hold.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm dead serious.
I'm going in. Hold me by my feet, Charlie. You got it? I got it. I can't get you back. Hold on. If I can push it towards the rock. I think it's stuck. I think it's sucking. I made it. I'm good. I made it. That was like waterboarding. I had to open my eyes underwater.
And Matt Purcell was the one, Bruce Man was the one that came down, and we had a carbon fiber rod tube that we drilled into that, glued that, then epoxied and glued the head back on, and that's it, dude. It hasn't broken again.
My goodness.
Well, that's the thing.
This is it right here.
So after he gave it to me, I kind of stashed it, and I was like, oh, it's a cool memento. Like, you know, Chi's a really good friend of mine. I appreciate him giving me this very famous rat at this point. And I was reorganizing some of my stuff the other day, and I was like, oh, yeah, here's that rat. I wonder if it still swims or does anything. And it was kind of rusted. It was kind of beat up. And I was like, all right, let me just replace the hooks. Let me replace the tail. Let me do these things and see if I can't bring this thing back to life to kind of do a homage to Chi. He's not dead. He's still out there. Chi, if you're watching, we should go fishing sometime. I knew it was a good bait, and I just wanted to fish it and see, the magic that it had, and to go out and basically catch fish on it and have some really good action with it. It was a really cool thing to have happen. And then that Battle Shad, super stoked. That's my custom color that will be coming out here pretty soon. I've been working with Gilbert on that color for a bit of time now, and I think it came out really nice. It's a very natural color with the green back, with a bunch of glitter and kind of like a clearish bottom. It's a very natural color when it's going through the water, and that's kind of the biggest thing that I wanted, was something natural, nothing too flashy, nothing too crazy, that it can work in really any body of water. And so that color came out super nice. I'm super stoked for that color to release. It's gonna be hopefully a killer for a lot of guys. The setups that I was fishing on that specific day with the rat, I was throwing it on a low down standard issue. It was a heavy. I could have definitely gone with an extra heavy, because that's a full size XL rat that weighs, I think, like 4.5, 5 ounces or something like that. So it's pretty heavy. So I could have gone with an extra heavy, but I was fishing it on braid. I normally don't fish braid, but I was kind of fishing it on just my punker rod where I fish straight braid. And so I wanted a lighter rod, and so I went with the heavy, because when I'm fishing that braid, it's just so tight. Everything's so tight. And sometimes when these fish come up and hit a bait, it's so hard and it's so fast that if you have too fast or too stiff or too heavy of a rod and you've got the braid, a lot of times the connection's too tough, and when they bite, things don't load and absorb the shock. And with that braid and that faster bit rod, then you can start pulling hooks away from the fish. So I went down on my rod power with the braid, and it worked out pretty well. I did miss some fish, unfortunately, but I think it was just the way they were eating it wasn't amazing. But that was kind of the rod that I was using. I was just using a faster gear ratio reel. That was a Daiwa Mago 03, the Gancraft collab. Fantastic reel. It's amazing, and it did the job exactly what I wanted it to do with that rat. And then with the Battle Shad, I was fishing that on that Form 01 rod by Working Class Zero. That was a heavy. It's kind of the perfect 7 to 8 inch beast hook style bait rod. Handled those fish great. I mean, I love that rod. It's a nice kind of faster action rod, but it still has a tip up on the end of the rod where you can actually load and make these bomb casts, and it's still pretty sensitive at the end of the day. And then I was just running a Daiwa Tatula 300 with 20-pound FC shooter. So that was the setup that I was using for Battle Shad. I mean, both rods, both setups worked really, really well for the mission that I was out there for. And of course, when you have something like that and you have a game plan that goes into your head and you want to execute it to the utmost perfection, and you have a day like that, I mean, it's pretty rare out here in the desert to have a day like that. But when you experience something like that, I mean, there's nothing better than that, honestly.